Spring is in the air, and it's time to celebrate community, knowledge, and growth. Join us for Florelia Fest, April 19th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 555 Herc Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63111. Brought to you by Carondelet Food Patch. This event is packed with energy and purpose. Live entertainment, motivational speakers, and the chance to harvest knowledge for your mind, body, and soul. At 12:05 p.m., Ray Lay Down the Truth will take stage, followed by Richard Shaw Jr. at 12:30. And at 1 p.m., it's Egg Hunt time. Bring the kids and join the fun. Sponsors are welcome. Let's build something beautiful together. Florelia Fest, where spring blooms and community grows. Be there.
All right. Welcome to Louis Wood Presents Voices of Carondelet, where the stories of our streets shine bright. I got something good for y'all today. I got two powerhouses that work in the community. I got Ivy March and I got Daren Owens. There we go. I was about to call you another name, but I got that right. First question is, what do you all do? And explain that to our followers and fans that watch.
Oh, that means I get to start. Cool. Yeah. So, Daren and I both are associated with the Carondelet Food Patch, which is been talked about on the program before. We're a local, inclusive community food forest and orchard. So, we grow produce and food for the community, and it's all for free. Come down and pick it whenever it's ripe.
Oh, yeah.
And I am the founder of a group called, started as a Facebook group called Southside Green Thumbs. And it happened when Trump was first elected. Not to get too political, I was like, I got to do something. So I wanted to get people together, get involved, be neighborly, and sort of expand the concepts of neighborhood to mean more than just living next to each other, a more conceptual version that where like people find something that they have in common and they spend time doing that. So I said, let's set up a neighborhood gardening group, and kind of went from there. And that's actually how I met Laura, who was on here last time from Green Thumbs, because she had that going on, and I went and visited. So
okay, so that's kind of how her story was too, Laura Gatlin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I'm gonna ask, because I get political, but not only on podcasts. I try to stay away from it and at my job and stuff like that, because I'm surrounded by a lot of Trump supporters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which to each his own. But when he got in, why did that make you want to help the community more? Like, what was the reason?
So for me, it was like this. First, I was incredulous. I couldn't believe he won. I thought he wasn't even remotely qualified. Like, you can argue back and forth about whether or not she was part of the machinery that is a problem or not, Clinton. But he was wholly like not qualified. He still is not qualified. He just had the job before. But I was like, what on earth is going on? And it felt like I didn't have any means to do anything, because I can't gather together the thousands of dollars to make a run for an office. I only know a few, maybe a couple thousand people, and only know maybe a few hundred decently well, and only know like 50 well.
Correct.
So I'm like, what am I going to do? And I, instead of just raging about it, I just tried to channel it and said, well, I know that I love gardening, and I believe that one of the main things that I was always taught was that, like, as a human being, growing things is something you can do.
True.
And you stay out of the way, sometimes the things kind of grow themselves. Yeah. You just got to be there and be some kind of steward and tend to them. So I felt like I needed to do something. And I was in a band at the time, and we changed our slogan on our shirts to "Do something," and just anything. And since that was something that was immediately by me, I was like, I can do this. And so I ended up doing that. So.
Okay.
That's actually really interesting because like I've known Daren for a while, but I don't know that I've ever heard that story.
No.
And it's like pretty similar to how I got kind of connected with the food patch, in that like it was at a time when I was feeling like looking at the events of the world and feeling really, really powerless and kind of hopeless. I mean, like, what do you do? Like, I get really tired of like calling your representatives. Not that doesn't count, because it does matter.
It does matter.
Yeah, call your representatives. But also, like, I think what I came down to was like I have to, like, with all these world events and these national events, like also looking like, okay, what do I actually have some kind of sphere of influence over? And like it's like I need to look really, really local. And I live basically next door to the CCBF, the Carondelet Community Betterment Federation, which is the fiscal sponsor for the food patch. Like, they help make all of that stuff happen. So I connected with somebody there, and I was like, hey, I'm going to get involved. So I ended up joining the board there, and it was through that process then that I learned about the food patch, and now have been like, oh yeah, this is really aligns with like my values in and my interests. And because I was like, I don't know really much of anything about growing food, but I'm killing some herbs in my backyard, so like let me let me connect with people who know things, and are willing to, like, in a really like non-pretentious way, like share knowledge, which I love. And I feel like that's how I've found a lot of community, not just I guess like in St. Louis and in the neighborhood.
Now I'm gonna read off my paper here.
It's all good.
What has the journey been like from when you started to where you are now?
Well, so like Green Thumb started around, I think it was 2016, 2017. But I had a little, I tried to grow watermelon as like a kid in this little corner. So I grew up in North City, right off of Page and Kings Highway. And like, I had this little bitty like 2-foot square corner that I tried to plant and grow some watermelons in. I got some plants, but I never got the fruit. My mom grew tomatoes. She grew all kinds of stuff, and so I've been around it for a while. I've got like great aunts and uncles, some who were lived in Mississippi and had nice, decent sized farms and all that kind of stuff. But I've always been interested in growing things, and then I've forgotten what happened. It was something related to. I think it was I was trying to grow pumpkins for my kids. I wanted them to grow pumpkins, and it was like failing pretty bad, because it was coming out and they started being green. They were brown at the tips, and I was like, oh, they're dead. And then one day my kids were like, Dad, come out here. Ah! And I was like, what's going on, man? And they were like, look. And if you follow the brown back, it got more and more green mixes, and it got more and more green, and it was green at the base. And then one of the ends that went off had a little bitty pumpkin starting on it. It was green.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. And that kind of triggered some of the other things that happened for me. Is like, it's, you know, like as I started on this journey in general about like just being involved in urban gardening, there was a story about kids in Detroit. Detroit is one of the first places that had large-scale urban gardening, because they had a whole lot of empty lots from when all the warehouses and stuff were getting burned down from the 60s and 70s. And people in those neighborhoods were like, hey man, we're just going to grow some food here. You can do something about it or not. And thankfully people chose not to.
Okay.
But some of the things they talked about, which I agree with too, is that like, it's important that before I tell this story to say that just because you're a city kid, no matter what color brown or you are or not, does not mean you're unintelligent. But there is an experiential thing. and they had kids who really thought their food came from grocery stores. They weren't unintelligent. They thought food comes from grocery stores.
Right.
And the people are like, "Nah, man, you're a human being. Let me show you how to grow something."
Right.
And so start doing more and more of that to educate the children. And so I think I absorbed that. My own kids, I started doing the watermelons, and then I've always wanted to have apple trees. So I planted apple trees. I planted strawberries in the front. It's a good way to get into things to start growing things, to plant things that you actually want to eat.
Right.
Like if you don't like tomatoes are kind of easy. But if you don't like tomatoes, there's no sense in growing them. You're not gonna eat them.
Yeah.
But if you like watermelon or apples, or you like berries, or you like I don't know, if you like growing flowers, I'm not very good at flowers. It's like pretty things that I'm good at. Things you can eat, I'm good at. But like you should start where you have some kind of passion at it, and then you'll have the focus and the interest it takes to kind of see it through, especially when you make mistakes, because everybody makes mistakes. Without getting too much into all the time, one of my favorite sayings is that I'm only an expert at being Daren. Everything else I'm learning, and the more you learn, the more you know. There's so much more to know. So I will share people my experiences. I will talk about what I know, but I don't want anybody to think that I know everything, which is sometimes what the phrase "expert" comes across as. But I just love growing stuff, and it transferred to where I started growing a lot of it. Now I got a yard that's filled with all kinds of things.
Okay. Abby, how has it been since you started to now?
Oh, wow. I think for me, I was like, I got started and connected specifically like with the food patch, and like my goal was always like a community connection, and I think right now, like, I haven't thought about this in a minute, but I'm like kind of reflecting on this. I've kind of coming back full circle on it, because I think I got kind of maybe deep into thinking about like the technical aspects of like maintaining the garden and how to organize and kind of get thinking about like delegating and helping people get roles and things like that, and like coming back to like what really matters. I know, kind of like what Daren was saying when it's like you can grow a bunch of tomatoes, but if you're not going to eat them, then what does it matter? And I feel like on a larger scale with the garden, it's like you can have a really healthy, pretty looking garden, but if nobody knows it's there, right, it doesn't matter. And then like for me, I think the community and the people around the caretaking and I guess the identity of the garden is just as, if not more important than what gets grown there.
Gotcha. Yeah. I know since I've been in, I just met Daren, but I worked with you, worked with both of the Lauras. Who was the old girl?
Sarah, yeah.
And her husband, and a couple other people, and everybody is in the Daren. That's why I keep Daren.
Right. Yep.
So, it's a very, y'all want to do this. That's basically what I'm getting to. Y'all want to do this, and I do understand what you're saying. You can't have what's the point of having a garden and people just walking by it?
Yeah.
You know, we working, or no volunteers coming, or
right.
blah, blah, blah. So that's an important part.
There was a point in time when gardens were in vogue. Like everybody wanted to have little neighborhood gardens.
Yeah.
They were popping up all over the place. And a lot of those didn't survive because they didn't ask people who lived there. They just decided you need a garden for you to do something, and people weren't there to take care of it.
Yeah.
They had no interest in it. They probably weren't growing things they wanted to grow. I mean, it's a different level. And then also, I feel like Ivy, you're being a little modest, because like one of the main things she's really good at is connecting with people. And the garden is a physical location to connect with people, in addition to getting things from it, especially this kind where it's actually made for the neighborhood.
Right. Yeah.
But in general, it's a place to like gather together and feel like a neighborhood and do things together. And Ivy's been really good. She's got other jobs outside of just being at the garden. And not talking about your career. I mean, you're involved in the neighborhood organization and some other stuff. So one of her strengths and strong suits in general is just is A, caring, but B, wanting to share that sense of community and care for each other as a neighborhood with lots of people. And it's infectious, and it's important, especially on a neighborhood garden kind of level, because it's not like it's got a lot of funding. You need people to come and want to be there and know that it's theirs and know that the food is there for them.
No doubt. I believe I've seen you before. We didn't meet, and it was at a Benetti Fest. I was I performed there too, but I think you was at the Marsh store or something like that, or you was.
R.I.P. Marsh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It still breaks my heart that Marsh no longer exists. But
I bought something. I don't know what you were selling, but I know I bought something from you.
okay.
Yeah. But it was functional. I went there.
Yeah. What a great community space that was, and while Marsh was still happening, I tried to be as involved as I could there, and I would volunteer down there sometimes. We did there was a lot of overlap between Marsh and the food patch. There was a lot of sharing of resources and knowledge and tools even. So that has been definitely I think a big loss for the neighborhood.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So with the Southside Green Thumbs, what hardships did you have before making it happen? And could you explain to people what it actually is too?
So what it was a way. Conceptually, it was a way for people who aren't immediate neighbors to get together and do something that they love to do. Because as city folk, we pretty much we got a higher tolerance of chaos than a lot of people have. But that don't mean we like chaos. We want to have neighbors and good neighbors and neighbors. We're just we're not as ready to pack up and go as sometimes other people are. So one of the main things I did was I had kids who were involved in sports, so it was really hard for me to do. We had a signature event. Let me back up. We had a signature event which was a sort of micro garden tour, because I went on a garden tour. There was a larger one. I can't forget I don't remember the name of it now. It happened every year. But it was all over Southside. You could plot your different places you want to go, and you'd see different variations. And that's one of the first places I saw strawberries growing in somebody's front yard. I was like, I looked up these big green leaves. There were strawberries underneath. I was like, what? And I was like, oh man, I'm doing that. So that's how I ended up doing it on mine.
Okay.
But I had to just balance my son played baseball, so I needed to balance him and the traveling he does for baseball, and then trying to be there for this big event, which was really hard. And the other thing is that it was a way to get people together, but I don't blame them. But a lot of people also saw it as a captive audience for promoting things, so they would want to just advertise, and I didn't want it to be advertising. I wanted it to be social and communicate. So it was also difficult when I started kind of putting the hammer down. Nah, man, I'm taking this down. This is an ad. A couple people got really mad at me about that. Okay. Some people quit. The guy who was volunteering, taking pictures, was like, nope. If I can't post my photographers, I'm not taking pictures. All right, man. You're great photos. I really wish you'd come out, and I appreciate you being here. But I don't want this to be an advertisement spot. I want it to be about community and neighborhood and stuff. So, none of those people, even people who were mad at me, are bad people. I'm not saying that at all. But it's just they didn't see it as I saw it, and it was a struggle trying to figure out how to get people to get involved who could continue to see it like I saw it, as a place to share information, help each other get better at gardening. Right. That was difficult.
Okay. Ivy, did you have any difficulties, or do you have any now, as far as the?
No, none. I think. I actually what Daren was saying really resonates. I mean, sometimes, when you're working with other people, there's always going to be some kind of points of conflict. It's just inevitable. unless somebody's like just always lying and always taking the passive stance, you're going to have some kind of points of conflict. And I think for me it's just figuring out how to navigate those situations so that like you can find people who you're in alignment with, which is I think kind of what you were saying, like, these are not bad people, they just had a different idea of what this was. And so it's like, how do you make it really clear, like, this is what we are, this is what we're not, and then also being open to new perspectives and people coming in like, okay, well, what if we did this or that.
Yeah, I had to learn that too.
And that can be really hard because like, you're never gonna make everybody happy, right? That's just impossible. And you can try to bend over backwards and tie yourself into knots to make everybody happy, but like, what all you do is like lose your integrity when you do that. That was kind of a rambly answer. I don't know that I.
Hey, I heard what you're saying. I heard what you was laying down. All right. Let's talk about what's happening now. What we got going on? What's coming up next? I know, but
you know what's happening next. But yeah. Right. I mean, I'm excited because tomorrow we're leaving to go to Kansas City and get to tour. So the food patch is part of like a program called the Giving Grove, which started in Kansas City. So we're a small group of us are getting to travel to Kansas City and tour about 4 or 5 of those different Giving Groves, and see kind of how they're doing. I think it's going to be really exciting to see like gardens that are several years ahead of ours. Like what kind of issues or hurdles they've been able to, or different. I'm looking forward to getting advice and input.
Right.
Yeah.
Me too.
When Laura and I were first talking about this trip like a few years ago, because her spot was on the garden tour. That's how I actually met her and the area. Was that I've heard about it, and then it was a part of the tour every year after that when I did the tours. But
was that her personal garden or like the food patch?
Her personal garden was, and I can't remember if it was a conversation at her personal garden or around the tour planning in general. She's like, well, I also got this thing I'm doing over here, and I was like, oh, let's go check that out. And it ended up being really cool. And I was like, a garden where you can go, anybody in the neighborhood can go pick whatever they want, eat whatever they want. That's what's up. That's like that's the goal, So we were like, you know what? I wonder if other places have one. And there was one in Kansas City that was called something like the Food Forest. The official name might be that now. I don't remember if it was the same one or if it was different. All I know is that we were talking about it, we found something in Kansas City, and we said, we should take a field trip up there. This is like 3-4 years ago. And since then, I've sort of drifted away from being actively involved every day, or not every day, but often like I used to be in the Green Thumbs. I'm definitely not Green Thumbs, right? The garden itself. I am still active in Green Thumbs, but Green Thumbs is pretty much defunct. So that's a whole nother story. But I kind of drifted away from that some, and it came back around for a chance to go, and I was free. So I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. We want to talk about April 19th?
Yeah. So, can I talk about the 18th first?
Yes, you
and then can I
You can talk
actually
about whatever you want.
Perfect. Okay. There you go. So yesterday, no, I'm just kidding. So the on the 18th we're have a big planting. We're expanding the orchard. And I should have had the list of like all the trees and plants, but we're planting like new apple trees, black raspberries, jujubes, apricot trees, a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be really, really exciting to have, because the fruit trees don't live forever, right? So I think it's going to be really nice to have some new trees that are in a different cycle, and these will of course take a few years to reach maturity and start producing fruit and everything, but it's gonna be a little bit more visible than the current orchard. It's gonna be visible from Alabama, where you get more traffic going by. And we've got so we partner with Seed St. Louis, and they have a big group of folks who are coming in to help with that. So, and if anybody's available, it is a Friday. I'll double check the time. I think from like 9 to 11. So it's like during the workday, but if anybody wants to come by and watch the trees get put in, I'm gonna try and get off work. So
Nice. Laura G on here, she says sustainable garden tour. I think she was answering you.
Okay. Yeah, sustainable garden tour.
Sweet.
Okay. Yeah.
oh yeah, we are live. Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to Laura Gatlett. So April 18th, April 19th.
Right. So April 19th is the Floralia Fest, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. But it's basically just going to be a kind of a spring celebration. We'll have live music. I believe we have a poet coming too.
Yep.
Is that right?
Lay down the truth. Correct.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, nice. So, and there will be an egg hunt for the kids and maybe adults,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be a good time.
Got a motivational speaker, Richard Shaw Jr. will be there too.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna turn up for Floralia
There
Fest.
you go.
And shout out to Trevor. He's the
Yes.
one who came up with the name and made the what you call it?
The signs.
So
They turned out
seen
really nice. Yeah,
seen
go
it.
check it out. There's one outside of CCPF.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
probably on the way home. I'll check it out.
yes. All right, man. Anything I know? We also. What about the It's like what's getting planted. I mean, not planted. What's getting structured.
We do. We have two like big exciting things going in.
Really?
Yeah. So we've got the first one is a large sculpture that is being donated by a local artist. Hans and last name. Maybe Gatlin wants to throw that name. Maybe Gatlin wants to.
Maybe Gatlin will
Hans,
tell us.
right?
I know Hans. I remember that name.
Yeah,
know
so
that.
first name Hans, an amazing local artist who is donating this incredible sculpture that's going to be installed at the entrance to essentially like the garden. It's not totally like a new section, but where we're expanding with new plantings. And so it's going to be installed right there at the corner of Hurricane, Alabama,
Okay.
and make a new entrance. It's going to be really eye-catching.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's going to be super exciting. And then we're also partnering with another local nonprofit called The Lit Shop, which is a really incredible organization that works with girls and non-binary young people, like ages, I'm going to say like 10 to 18, and teaches them art and construction skills. And so they're working on a specific project with some different local architects to design a pergola / gazebo for us
Okay.
that will be installed in this new garden expansion area. So we'll have a little bit more shade there. It'll be a nice gathering place for events, and it'll be really nice and visible from the street. So they are already starting planning and dates for designing that. And then in June, they're gonna be actually, like, the kids will be paired with like local professionals who will be there on the ground to install it. So
Construction professionals?
yeah,
Nice.
All right, that's cool.
yeah.
I knew about some of that being in the works, but seeing
Right.
that it's actually manifesting is actually
Right.
really cool. That's nice.
Right. I mean, and that's just like the like power of partnering with other people and kind of combining your efforts is huge.
Very nice.
Right.
Big things.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody wanted to volunteer, I know that the days are first and third Saturdays of each month.
Right. So first and third Saturdays from 9 to 11. Somebody's down there, and then you can also find us on Facebook. We're where you're probably watching us now. Yeah, you can also, oh shoot, now we're like this close to getting our website, our specific, like our own website up with email and domain and everything.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
yeah, but right now you can email us at, oh shoot. We'll drop it in the comments.
Yeah, we'll drop it in the comments.
Yep.
Figure it out.
Facebook
Laura,
is
drop it in
this
the
is the
comments.
short.
I know Laura
Yeah.
know that. Put it in there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Laura B say, Laura G say, Laura B knows Hans' last name. She don't.
Cool. All right.
All right. We ain't gonna say it's Gretzel.
Right.
Hans. Every mission has a heartbeat. What part of your work means the most to you personally?
Just getting to like meet so many different people in the neighborhood who have like a similar interest in. Honestly, I think the thing that almost brings us more together, it's less about like the actual growing of things and more of like the caring for community and getting to meet people that I would not have met otherwise. And yeah, and like just to be clear, all of these things that are happening, like these are not things that I have done and made happen. Like it is absolutely, a big group effort that a lot of people have put and donated so much of their time and talents and energies into, which is really special to see, I think. And that's what I think is kind of at the heart of it.
Nice. What about you, Dorby?
I really love growing things, but that translates also into like growing community, like you were saying. And through the beginning of Green Thumbs, there was a group of women who met on the tour for at least 5-7 years. They were pretty good friends consistently, and then people come into and out of your life. So anything past that is it is what it is. But I was really particular of all the things that happened. Of all the successful tours and a lot of people who enjoyed learning stuff, one of the things I felt proudest about was how these people found each other and on some level remained friends all this time. That was something that meant a lot to me. And even as sometimes in their groups they might have somewhat parted way. I know somewhere in there they all probably still enjoy each other, and I think that being a part of Green Thumbs and actively doing stuff in it was beneficial to them. So I was glad to sort of be the conduit for that growth and that friendship. That means a lot to me. And there's probably other people who are friends that I don't even know about.
Yeah.
And I'm friends with all of them, so it's good.
All right. Any besides that, is there any other stories? And if you got like any stories you would like to tell that kind of how can I say it, encapsulate what you all do?
I don't know if it's an encapsulating story, but I just do. I'm reminded of like the first time I met Daren, which was actually I might have been on a garden tour that I kind of invited myself on, and it was after I had gotten connected with Lori Gatlin and was down at the food patch, and there was something that you said that stuck with me that you said something. But you're like, I know it's been a while since I've been down here to help out with the food patch. And Lori Allen was like, oh, yeah, it's okay. And you were just like, no, it's not. But, it's something. And I was just like, oh. Like, the way you were just, kind of matter-of-factly, like, taking accountability and telling it like it was. But not overly doing it like, oh, yeah, I'm really, really sorry. And, like, it's because of this. Right. You didn't make it about you. You were just like, I take ownership of the fact that I've not been around as much as I should. And then we're moving on.
I'm hearing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like there's been a lot of other situations that have, you get to know people in just, like, a different way that isn't centered around what you do for a living, which I think as an adult, especially trying to get people, it's like that's kind of the icebreaker question. So like, what do you do?
Right.
So instead to be able to connect with people like about what do you care about and like what motivates you, and how do you spend your time when you're not getting paid. That just really is like the beauty of the food patch and like the Southside Green Thumbs and groups like that.
I think they do capsulate it. Pretty good.
Thanks. That's awesome.
Nice. So, looking beyond the Carondelet Food Patch and the Southside Green Thumbs, are there national or global trends that are affecting your work, the communities you serve? And if it does, how do you adapt and respond to the larger shifts?
Fuck yeah. That's I don't know.
I mean, yeah. What she
Yes.
said. I mean, because, man, without being all rah-rah this country, man, I've always been one of those people who have had deep issues and problems with the way our like, government treats brown people and treats anybody who doesn't have money. I've been really, it's, once I started having kids and settling down, I got less fiery, but it used to be way more fiery. And man, none of that compares to the basic division going on. Like, and I don't want to get on that boat now, because that's a train too. Like, we all need to be together. Like, no, we don't need to all necessarily be together. We got to air those grievances. But the fact that people can't like just be with somebody who has a checklist before they go and communicate or associate or experience with people, that sucks. That's about as anti-American as I can think of.
Yeah.
You know, and like, so it's things like the neighborhood group and like without picking any particular candidate, doing work for a candidate in your neighborhood, to like actively using the Citizen Service Bureau to report things, to like just something that like you just get to be involved and do, and then walking your streets. That's one of the biggest improvements in Dutchtown and Carondelet and Marineville is just walking your streets. You can just walk around and meet people and talk to them. So like Green Thumbs, even though it's mostly defunct, people still communicate on there sometimes, and I still approve things. But like the food patch is just such a good idea for just taking that concept of neighborhood, because it takes in people's efforts and ideas and energy, but then it gives it back in food and experiences and a place to come together and socialize and be and do stuff together. That I think that like we just need more of that. We need more of that in all kinds of levels. And I don't even, I don't care about the voting. I say that carefully because God, Trump. But like, I don't really care. I just want to know that you care enough about the people in your quarter-mile area to come out and do something. And whatever you do and how you vote, it's whatever. Let's go actually do something together. And I would bet dollars of donuts that the more you do here, the less you'll feel estranged from the people in your actual neighborhood. You know, you'll feel more like a community, and that's probably what this again, thinking way past this point, what this country needs more than anything else is millions of little neighborhood gatherings and getting together versus platforms.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, I don't know if we're running over, but
Don't worry about that.
like, I think in terms of like current events and things that are happening, like I think a lot of people are like worried about. I mean, we've always been, focused on food access, but I think now recently more than ever, and a question that I brought up actually as we were looking at what we're going to plan in this expansion is like, do we know with all of the different political events that are happening on like a national scale, like are there going to be certain fruits or things that are going to be harder to get? We don't have an answer to that, but I think that's on a lot of people's minds, and I think it just, for me, it's given me more fire and more motivation to like really put in my energies into the food patch, because honestly, when I start like doom scrolling on the news, like I think what I just feel really kind of hopeless sometimes. It's like circle back and like, okay, what do I have control over? Like, and what do I want to prioritize? And like my little family first, and then like my bigger social circle, and like and then out to like, for me mainly like my community around my neighborhood and the food patch, and that's what I can make a positive impact on?
Ooh, boy, I know. I got a podcast I do on Sundays mostly, and I talk about Trump a lot. I'm keep it short too. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna hold the people who voted for him accountable. You know, because I feel like, they got laid off too. So, that'll be another time. So, looking ahead, do you see urban agriculture and food security evolving in the next few years?
I mean, these are dystopian looking times. So, I mean, the ability to grow something that you are going to eat for yourself, or you can eat for yourself, or you can share with your immediate neighbors, or your neighbors can share with you, all of that is going to be really important if things keep heading in the direction they're heading. I mean, the price of things is absurd.
Man.
I mean, it's maybe not so much, although sure it happens in St. Louis, where people who have what could have been totally sustaining jobs live out of their vehicles now. I mean, like, you're living out of your car. I mean, how do you take care and you feed your people? And I mean, maybe that's a choice. If I do this, then I can't take care of you. I don't know, but I mean, the more and more people fall into the cracks and off radar,
man,
the more that underground, for one of a less overused term, that has to figure out how to take care of itself, and that's gotta be through being a good neighbor, in my mind. So I think it's all relevant.
Man.
Yeah, no, same. And I think it's like your neighborhood is where like building safety nets, like both for yourself but also for like the people around you, because we're all closer to living out of our cars than we are to being a billionaire.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
that's the reality.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop there on that.
Okay. Well,
But you're not wrong.
No, and I think, and I want to ask y'all this because when we went to the last CCBF meeting, it was a question about how can we, like, people want to help the homeless, but they don't want the shelters around the neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do we have an answer for that, or how can it work out?
It's another heavy question.
That is another heavy question. I'm like, were you around for yeah. No, I mean that's a very relevant question to Carondelet specifically.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that one?
I mean, it's hard to talk about it, and not. I mean, you have if you talk about it, you got to own everything you say, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard. It's very hard.
I mean, I know I genuinely care about people's sometimes mental states and ability to feed themselves, but I also don't necessarily want them to be bathing in the one beautiful, like, fountain that's in the
Correct.
area.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the balance there?
Yeah.
And then it's not often spoke about, but people are oftentimes not fully mentally, consciously making decisions.
Correct.
So, and
Right.
then, that help isn't cheap. People who have jobs and careers sometimes can't afford healthcare, mental health care. So, I mean, there's just no really easy answer.
Yeah.
And that to me is where community and discussion and different ideas and points of view have to come out, and we have to sometimes agree to disagree, which is somewhat a cop-out. We have to try to work through something where everybody can live with. Nobody gets everything they want, but everybody gets something, and ultimately you're all doing something you all agree needs to be done. That has to happen.
Correct.
On some level. Besides that, man, I don't know.
I don't got an answer for it.
I can see lots of points of view there, not only being valid, but like, yeah, and so how do we also do this and this?
Right. Well, and I think too, it's like on what occurred to me as you were saying that of like, how do we, balance different perspectives, and also thinking about like whose ideas and whose opinions actually make it to the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times, like, when you're talking about discussions or disagreements about, say, like, a shelter, like, in the terms of, like, the Carondelet neighborhood, the voices that got heard are the people who are either, like, usually are, like, landowners, right? So they're...
Yeah.
Those are the voices, and, like, you've got different ideas within those people. It's like, who are we missing in that, right? Like, it could be that there are, also, like, renters there, but, like, who... One of the things, and I think in the narrative of kind of this question, is this idea that, like, homelessness is, like, some kind of outside separate kind of thing coming in, when it's like, we have people who are unhoused already, that are already our neighbors.
Yes.
Right? Whether or not they have, like, an address that's next to you, that doesn't mean they are not our neighbors. They're a part of our community. And pretending that giving people an address at, say, a shelter makes them more part of the neighborhood or less, it just makes it maybe easier to overlook people. So, and I mean, yeah, I hear what Daren's saying about kind of like the cop out of, like, agreeing to disagree. I mean, essentially.
I mean it as a base, not as process, but as like, oh, we're just going to agree to disagree. That's that cutoff point.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not really doing anything.
I mean, honestly, the neighborhood association was actually born out of, like, some really heated debates and disagreements over the shelter. So, and I say that saying, like, this iteration of the neighborhood association, there's been a lot of others in the past, and there's been a lot of people who've done things. But, like, in this most recent one, it was a group of us who connected and did not agree. We were not in agreement on whether or not this should move forward, but we did agree on the fact we were able to find common ground of, like, we agree that we disagree really heatedly because we all really love Carondelet, because we really love our neighborhood, and we can agree on that. And we can still respect each other as people and think you're so wrong, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So it was like, so on a level, it's like we're agreeing to disagree. It's like, where can we find some common ground without one person just kind of like rolling over, right?
Yeah, you fleshed out much better than I could find the words for. What I meant in that statement is more like, not that agreeing to disagree is it in all be all, as if it stops there. And you all took it way past stopping there. You're like, well, what do we agree on? What can we do?
Right.
What do we? And we all agreed we love this neighborhood. So that's the perfection of. That's the perfection of the very base side that I was talking about, like stopping at that. Well, we just have to disagree, and then everybody goes their ways. So.
Right. Yeah. And what we could agree on was that, like, this whole process would have been a lot smoother if we had like a neighborhood association where, like, this, where there could have been a more central kind of place to contact and connect with residents in the neighborhood to propose this, possible shelter. But because there wasn't, there was this idea of that there was a lot of mistrust, and I could get really into the weeds on this story, but
no, it's great.
But like what we could agree on was, like, it would be great if there was a organization in a central place for the neighborhood to be more connected. And I mean, because we looked around, like, there were all these community meetings at the library, and the turnout was amazing.
Okay.
The turnout was amazing, and it was full of angry people. And on one hand, it's like, that's what it's like, you look around and you're like, wow, look at how much these people care about their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Even though, like, people sitting next to each other, like, feeling like, what is wrong with you that you don't agree with me on this thing, right? Yeah. And and feeling like a lot of frustration and but still, like, it was packed. There were multiple times the library's room was like over capacity.
Okay.
And they had to say, like, you can't sorry, you can't come in.
Yeah. Especially if you made the trip to come down there, we're definitely not doing that. We're like, no, everybody in, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like people really care about the neighborhood, and I think it is really tricky because, like, I think there's not a lot. I think it's really important, especially as many people like don't have as many opportunities or spaces to interact with people who think differently than them. And I think the benefit of our neighborhood is that it is, like, diverse, like, racially and economically, and people's backgrounds, and which is an amazing benefit, right?
City living.
But if you don't have opportunities to meaningfully engage with those people, it doesn't. It's kind of like a wasted benefit almost.
Yeah.
And I know, like, personally, like, I grew up going to church, and, like, that was like our community and an opportunity to interact with people of, like, who are, have, obviously, like, religion was the common denominator there, but, like, different ages, different, racial and economic backgrounds. And I know, like, into adulthood, like, I'm no longer religious, but, like, I miss that kind of community. And I think that we just need that in our lives.
We need a location that's external to our homes and our friendship groups, and our where we can immediately access. It needs to be something that we can't offhandedly filter out of our lives because it's not convenient. You have to talk to people who you're gonna disagree with. Now, again, hopefully this is not like I'm defending it, but, like, just why it's just like the stopping it. We're agreeing to disagree. It's like, no, that's not enough. That's not doing anything.
Right.
What are we have to solve this on some level,
No doubt. All right. For folks listening who are feeling inspired and want to help, how can they find you, or where can they go?
I should have looked up our email address while we were doing that. Darren, you fill this one, and I will.
Oh, God. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Southside Green Thumbs is essentially defunct. It's not completely defunct, but it's essentially defunct because I can't figure out what to do with it next. So, if you look us up on Facebook, you can join the group, and you may have good ideas, and maybe we can take it from there.
Okay. I sure was going to ask you. I'm going to look it up. I want to join.
For sure.
No doubt.
Yeah. Okay, so you can email us at c.food.patch@gmail.com.
All right.
I knew they had Gmail part. I did not know the first part.
I knew
Email at Gmail, and I'm sure it'll get to us, right? Yeah.
All
I
right.
should write it down so we can repeat it at the end, too. I'm going to write it on my hand.
I got it now.
Okay, cool.
All right. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts or words of inspiration for our listeners?
Do something. Talk to somebody who you don't think you should be able to talk to or could talk to or would talk to. Just throw it out there. And hopefully 70-something% of the reactions will be great. And then you'll expand from there. We prepare for some, and I don't want to talk to you, but if you can get past that, it's amazing.
Come down to the garden.
Come on down.
Come on down to the garden and see us. And yeah, and even if I think gardening isn't, like, really your thing, we've got such a great community of people with so many diverse other interests and stuff. Like I dare you to come down and not connect with somebody on something.
Yeah, no doubt. Ivy, Dorian, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your dedication and help with the community. It inspired me. So that's why I'm here. That's why I interviewed you. And many more interviews to come. One more time. Well, yeah, I was just going to say, let them know where they can find you at.
c.food.patch@gmail.com.
There we go. And
Southside Green Thumbs. It's a Facebook group. If you join, I would have to approve it, but I'm in an approving mood. I'm approving everything that comes through for the.
What's the password they need to drop in the?
Just not giving that password out. But no, you're fine. You can
it's
find
podcast.
It's a podcast.
All right, y'all. We will catch y'all on the next episode of Louis Wood Presents Voices of Carondelet. Thank y'all again.
16-pad ring. You a fool for this. You know I had to go get the steppers, right? We talking God shit. Who you with when life is limitless? You built the script simultaneously while you lift the gift. Trust and I, only I can get us out this hill.
What's that you talk?
You know we only talking God. We talking God shit. Who you with when life is limitless? You built the script simultaneously while you lift the gift. Trust and I, only I can get us out this hill.
What's that you talk?
You know we only talking God. In the beginning that was light, so I was let's be friends. But at the end of the night, it was by my ends. I'm on the ground with my grind. You can't deny that I'm great. The only thing you can do is up the level on hate. Trump supporters wanna clean our plates, disguise the debate, killing the late. We on the slate team, and we ain't talking about holidays. Not for gunplay, but money making their way. But if you wanna take it thorough, we can make it rattle. We prepare the cattle, and we are best at battle. They said I was gossip when you brought me in this, but it's my everyday struggle that got me this. It was my mama on welfare, my daddy on crack rock. The grind don't stop. I was raised by hip hop. This one for the culture, black excellent hood nurture. We was raised with virtue. It's our time. We talking God shit. Who you with when life is limitless? You built the script simultaneously while you lift the gift. Trust and I, only I can get us out this hill.
What's that you talk?
You know we only talking God.
Crack the side of lines then, put the paper to pen. We form Voltron, legal women and men. Destroying competition with a devilish grin. Set the pace in the race, cause we winning again. We the best Midwest, house blessings bestowed. Dominate the interstate, so these suckers will know. You can't penetrate or integrate, the dungeon is closed. Okay, we liquidate, now you're living exposed. Technique, when we speak, rap rugged and raw. Transparent and translucent, going bar for bar. Right like two wheels on the back of a car. Like tight like vice grips on the lid of a jar. We haven't sent, pay the rent, courtesy of the team. It's inevitable, how we severing dreams. It's commendable, how we stepped on the scene. We separating God shit from your devilish schemes.
We talking God shit. Who you with when life is limitless? You built the script simultaneously while you lift the gift. Trust and I, only I can get us out this hill.
What's that you talk?
You know we only talking God. We talking God shit. Who you with when life is limitless? You built the script simultaneously while you lift the gift. Trust and I, only I can get us out this hill.
What's that you talk?
You know we only talking God shit.
Yeah, God shit. Great orderly direction. Showing you how intelligence triumphs.